Hey, everybody, it's Dr. Legacy Holistic Health Institute. And today, on our version of health coaching, we have Ms. Nik Sweeney. She is a board certified health and wellness coach, and she is the founder of Amani Nicole Wellness. And we're going to dive into quite a few things today, some burning conversations that people are wanting to have and wanting to know. So, whether you are a board certified health coach or if you're a recent graduate, or even if you're already enrolled in a health coach training program, you're going to get tremendous value out of this live stream today, especially for those of you who are having challenges getting your health coaching practice off the ground. And for those of you who are still kind of mowing over whether or not the pathway of health coaching and becoming a board certified health coach is something that you truly want to do. I always tell people to have all the pieces before they make a decision to do this. But I have someone here with me today who is going to help dive into some of those things and hopefully answer a lot of those questions that you have. Welcome, Nik Sweeney. How are you today?
I'm doing amazing. How are you? Excited to be here.
Yes, I am amazing. And so I want to talk a little bit about, because you've accomplished so just reading through your bio and then following you online. One of the things that I always say, and I know I've said this to you before, you are probably one of the most accomplished health coaches, board certified health coaches, I think, on the planet. Everyone else, if they are more accomplished, then they're hiding from me, right? I haven't seen them, I haven't met them yet. And so I think it makes sense to have a conversation with you. There are so many people that take not being able to find success as a health coach, they take it personally when there are probably some critical things that are available for them to do that they might just not know about. And that could be a game changer for them. And I know you have programs and things, and so we're going to talk about those. But I want to talk a little bit about what brought you to health coaching, right? So out of everything that was going on in your life, when you saw health coaching, what was kind of your day zero, I call it? What made you say, I am here, but I'll be there?
That's a loaded question, and I'll keep it brief because I'm on the East Coast where health coaching is finally becoming a term that we are becoming more familiar with. But back in 2016, it was not a household term. As a matter of fact, I started my journey in health and wellness as a Zumba instructor, and I only went into Zumba as a side hustle. There was no big plan, but it led me to start thinking about how I could be of more support to the women who were experiencing the great benefit of exercising on a regular basis and enjoying it. And so when I tell you that health coaching just fell in my lap, it did, because I was in the fitness industry and had never even heard of it until I started looking around trying to figure out what my next certification would be. And fortunately, as you and I know, around that time is when health coaching was about to embark on where we are today, this opportunity to become national board certified.
I love it. Being a Zumba enthusiast, side hustle, all the way to receiving grants, being able to have a diabetes prevention program. I mean, that's a huge, huge leap. Having been someone that kind of stumbled upon the industry, right? I think a lot of people get into this field for some similar reasons. They want to help, they want to be a greater resource to the people who they're already serving. And so I think that's amazing that this is how you found this field and are pioneering some amazing things. So I want to talk a little bit about what led you as a minority to then begin your diabetes prevention program. How did you kind of go from Zumba to what you're doing now?
And it's truly a pathway to that, right? We're talking 2016, starting out in a coaching program similar to yours, and then segueing into becoming a full-time entrepreneur. There's truly a journey in that, but I'm going to focus on what happened in March 2020 when the whole world was shocked, especially here in the United States with COVID-19. And less than 6 months before the pandemic shut everything down, I had opened up my very first, what I call my behavior change vision became live with the Monty Nicole Wellness. And the whole point of it was to create this amazing space that tackled stress as the barrier, because we know we were still in a place where people needed tangible support. They still weren't wrapping their head around what health coaching actually does, like what's in it for them. So the thought behind opening up Amani Nicole Wellness, having those stress management self-care therapies in place coupled with our lifestyle coaching was the goal. With chronic illness prevention always at the top tier and chronic illness management. But that shutdown, Dr. Angela, gave us a chance to work hard and intense on our diabetes prevention program. Interestingly, you could not have told me in April 2020, when we first set out the plans to launch this, that in a short period of time, that it would actually become, we call it our pandemic pivot to prevention, but that it would lay the groundwork for what we see today and the basis for this conversation. Like, how do you go from there's this huge need, COVID was devastating people with underlying health concerns, the need to prevent it. We know in coaching, it can be prevented holistically, right? But the need is huge. And unfortunately, it was the pandemic that really, laid the groundwork for us to be able to continue to scale the concept of diabetes prevention.
I love it. I love it. And I feel like DPP programs they're widely used by the government. Health coaching did take a leap during the pandemic. And I just feel like only a few coaches were poised and ready to jump into such a vast need during the pandemic. And those who did jump in with both feet, here in 24, they'd be on the upside of things. And so I personally feel like there are always these eras in time that come along that are amazing for those of us who have prepared for them, right? And so similarly to what happened with you, the same thing happened with Legacy. In 2020, I was first contacted about whole health with the VA. Shortly after starting that health coach training program and being a part of that large scale initiative, I was contacted by the Department of Health and Human Services, Indian Health Service. And so those individuals who were kind of poised and ready to grow, it just kind of happened during the pandemic. And I personally feel like we're on the cusp of another one of those eras, right? Coming towards the end of this year, going into 2025 through about 2027, I personally sense that we're on the cusp of another era, especially as it relates to behavioral change specific to chronic disease management, right? If you're watching this field, you can see where they're trying to plug technology in to kind of plug up these holes and bring things kind of up to speed when it comes to this. But the reality is humanity still needs a human touch. And that's where Amani Nicole Wellness and, entities like it are ready to go, and they're there to serve, and they know how to do it. And so I want to talk a little bit about being a minority in the space, right? And so, we know there are very few minorities in health coaching, and even fewer that are board certified, and then even fewer that have found success with a client base. And so I know that some people feel like, well, what? She's got some kind of secret sauce over there, right? I know the secret sauce is hard work.
Absolutely.
That's the secret sauce, is consistency and hard work, right? But I want to know, how have you been able to navigate this space, continue to grow as a minority?
And it's you hit the nail on the head with the hard work, the consistency. We all know that. But at the end of the day, it goes back to strategy. It goes back to business planning. I can't help but say passion for the community. Because unlike some high ticket offers, and I'm not knocking them, right? We're in a non-judgmental space in our training. However, a lot of this turn that you just mentioned, I'm telling you, health coaches, we are at the brink of another milestone. And if you follow health coaching, we're talking about milestones in a very short window, right? 2016 is when things were just budding. 4 years later, in 2020, health coaches are needed. There is this global pandemic. Well, we're barely out of that pandemic, and finally, healthcare is starting to see the beauty of linking with community-based partnerships. So yes, we are in the prime of what we're about to see, which is another milestone for coaches who are willing to support community-based initiatives. So that's the other thing, right? I know a lot of coaches, and I was one of them until I finally settled down to get serious about my niche, to get serious about what the foundational principles of Amani Nicole Wellness, who we're actually going to support, and what does sustainability look like beyond my imagination, right? Because I think the biggest deal with us as health coaches is we have to do reality checks and identify where is there a true need, and does that need link with passion. For me, fortunately, I will say I'm thankful that in my corporate career, career for almost 2 decades centered around marketing and lead generation, building strategies to support grassroots efforts. No, I do not have a degree in marketing. Sometimes I wish I did. I have a degree in people. I have a degree in relationship building and a sustainable. We're talking about health coaching, but I know, Dr. Angela, you brought me on because I'm about business. I'm not perfect in this. Let me tell you, I got some flaws that set me down about a month ago so I could redirect, brainstorm, and get clearer for this new push that's coming for 2025. But at the end of the day, where's the strategy? Where are the goals? And in community health, passion doesn't meet purse right away.
No.
So are you willing to do some of the footwork and the grassroots work that's needed at first until you can see things eventually begin to blossom in your favor if you're dedicated?
I love it. I love it. That is so true. And I think Leslie is going back to kind of what you said. Where's the need, and then does it lead to passion, or does it align with passion? And that's so true. The other thing I'll say is, and this is something for all health coaches, there is, so you'll have your new grads focused that are so passion focused or passion filled that they don't set goals, or that they don't look at the strategy or the business of it all. That have strategy, but then the product, the quality of the receivable, what's being given, doesn't necessarily fit because they haven't refined their expertise or what it is they do. And so they might have people that come to them, but the results are inconsistent. And then as a result, they can tend to lose steam or get burnout. But some of that can be, sometimes when people say that, it can sometimes be identified as them not necessarily getting clear on why they're doing what they're doing and serving who they're serving. So having a niche is so important. because then they'll go and personally internalize why something didn't win 100%, when in reality it very well could have. And it some goals, line these two things. So it's so for the success, especially of health coaches who are wanting to be on the cusp of these next 5 years, I'll say. It's critical right now. And so, because like I said, they are really throwing a lot of tech at health coaching. And at the end of the day, they're finding we still need people. Like, we still need bodies. We need people to help. And we need the compassion, and we need people who can build relationships with these patients and with the community. And so I want to talk a little bit about, kind of building or working within community, because I think people have different definitions of community. When new health coaches start out, they kind of fish around their own pond, around their own zip code, around their own area. And it's like, who can I help now, right where I am? And not knowing that growth is not in that area. Growth might be somewhere across the state. Growth might be something you start that becomes national. And so not thinking broad enough. So what was it for you that allowed you to start thinking broad enough? Because I know you're from Baltimore. Baltimore is a community kind of place. It's a lot like Atlanta.
Yeah.
It's a community. It's hard to not find community in Atlanta. Like, it's even if you want hermit, you just can't do that. And so the DMV is like that too.
Yeah.
It's hard to not know anybody. So how did you? So I say that to say it's easy to stay in the same pond. So how is it for you to grow outside of that, to say, now I have something that can help people no matter where they are?
There were so many gems that you dropped before that question related to health coaches trying to identify, get clear, get to the root of it, being open to think about outcomes, and not just, I'm a health coach and I'm going to coach you through this, but where are the outcomes for your clients, right? So I want to circle that into the answer to that question. There's a lot of done for you stuff out there, right? The shiny things. You're scrolling through social media and you see so many programs. Let me just buy them. And before you know it, your Dropbox or your OneDrive is loaded up. You've launched one course, 5 people are interested, 3 people really actually show up. And then at the end of the day, you have to figure out how to duplicate that process. And it's frustrating, right?
Mm-hmm.
The diabetes prevention program is also done for you. It's hard work, but as coaches, what is your street credibility? What are your outcomes? How are you navigating your community with credibility? And I will tell you, for you, born and raised in Baltimore, from Park Heights, one of the zip codes that has the highest risk factors for diabetes, hypertension. The risk factors in that community is so high that the CDC sent millions of dollars to Baltimore for diabetes prevention and self-management. So it was not hard for me to identify the community that had the need. I'm from it. I see it. I live it. I have family members living it, right? How I decided to deepen my passion for community was the ability to use the DPP to get credentialed for billing, because what I wanted to offer, I knew who needed it. Not everyone who needed it could afford it. So could I be that coach that's willing to work with a population that could not jump into their pockets to get access? So I will tell you, part of identifying my community was taking my pocket out the picture, but only for a minute, because we don't have to do free work. But at the end of the day, when I think about outcomes and if I'm actually having impact, because Amani Nicole Wellness is a social enterprise, we are built on principles to help bridge these gaps. What the medical reimbursement component to our program was able to do was dig deeper into a community that I would not have been able to impact. And then when we talk about that larger scale you just mentioned, what I've learned and fumbled through over the past few years has led me to connect with other board certified coaches in other states so that my impact goes beyond Baltimore with other like-minded coaches, right?
That's right.
The beauty of this, as you mentioned, what's interesting, there are only a small number of health coaches that are minorities. And yet when we look at health statistics, who are at the top of the statistics? And why are we thriving in a sense as a country in so many other areas like tech, but we are struggling when it comes to health, especially preventative health? So that means I will tell you, Dr. Angela, deeper than impacting I have to call them patients because insurance sends us patients. Beyond impacting them, it gives me the opportunity to impact other like-minded wellness professionals to get out there and impact those other multiple metropolitan areas with these same Baltimore.
So this is so good. There was so much that I can like go back through. Oh my God. So I love it because one of the questions I was going to ask was how, because we're naturally going to attract those individuals in the beginning as health coaches who are like us. So I was always going to ask, how you navigate individuals who cannot pay, but actually need the disease prevention. They actually are in your niche. And so this type of programming makes it a much lower barrier of entry for those individuals for health coaching services. Now, I like also how you said, how there are dollars in places for these services that coaches are just not looking, right? They're trying to fish around their front door, and in fact doesn't work that way, right? And waiting for the next coach or the next coach or the next coach to sell you something, like you said, how you see these ads. Let me just say this. First start seeing those, I gotta say this, because if I see one more person that's a health coach graduate selling health coach business services with a bunch of downloads, my eyes are gonna cross. Like, before I would ever spend my resources on that, I would ask myself, how many other people have downloaded this same stuff? Why would I want that? How is that customized? No matter how much it's telling me that it can help people, at the end of the day, it won't build relationships. It won't be something that you can create that becomes nationally recognized, that will actually make impact. It won't be. So new health coaches, especially those who are board certified, are the most valuable right now. Right? Absolutely. Those individuals who are board certified, they're so valuable right now. I would never waste my time on something that's cookie cutter that I can just click and download like everybody else can. It ain't gonna work. I can tell you that now. It doesn't work. Right? And coming from someone who actually did download some of that foolishness back in like 2014, 2015, it just doesn't work. Trust me. No contract has ever asked me for that stuff.
No.
It's on drive somewhere. It does not work. It don't work. Don't download it. No discredit to those individuals who have niche to say, oh, I want to help health coaches build businesses. But one of the things I want to ask you to ask them before you download is, where's the proof of your consistency with getting results with your own clients first? Because that's the business I'm trying to build. Right. Otherwise, I don't want to download. I don't want that. I want to know who's doing what I really, really want to do, right? And so it's so personalized. Like Leslie said, it's the essence of it is so personalized. And so that's the first. The other thing that I like that you touched on, that health coaches then have to go places they're not willing to go into. They're going to be working with people who may not be able to reach in their pockets directly, because there is a pocket that can be reached into, but they may not be able to reach into their pockets directly to pay you. And that is when you put your thinking cap on. How will I make impact before I make dollars? How will I do that? Right? How does this work? Is there a program for these people that already exist? Well, how can I start to get with other coaches, link arms with other coaches to create these types of things so that these individuals, because we know that's where the need is, right? So how can we create some things that'll create impact, and then that will literally pay all of us, right? And so, you know, I feel like, and I know you're in that board certified health coaches group, and it's a lot of disgruntledness in that group, right?
I was trying not to do my laugh during this segment.
But I feel like all of that feeling and what they feel is valid, but there also needs to be a sense of accountability that says this is only what I've tried, so that's why this is only what I've gotten. You know, and so if we're bold enough to say, where does this take me? Why did I do this? Why is it not working? We have to also be bold enough to say, I've been fishing in the same pond. I've been doing the same thing every day, and the results that I've gotten are the ones that I prepared for. Like, let's be honest, right? And it's a tough pill to swallow, but that's when we start getting to the heart of business. That's when the page turns for us. What else can I try? What else will I do? Who else out here might need or try to do what I'm doing? How can I help? And the one thing that they're going to find is that across cultures, we got to link arms. You know, get with people who look and act and are nothing like you, so that you can find some form of success, so that you can be impactful, because there are communities that need us, but there's only so much work that minorities can do because our numbers are small. You know, so we have to start doing something different. Love this conversation. So can we talk a little bit about, so we now know that kind of a golden lining in this is this disease prevention and the diabetes prevention programs that are approved through CDC, right? And this kind of opens the gateway, I'll say, to the ability to start to bill insurance. There's some other ways you can connect with other doctors' offices, locations, healthcare HCOs, healthcare organizations, community-based organizations, you know, pharmaceutical companies even. There's ways to link with these companies, and they do the billing for you. But if you want to be a standalone entity that makes significant impact, like a Money Nicole Wellness, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about how the DPP does that.
Oh, you know, this is the part of the interview that I get overly excited. So feel free to say, Nick, we at time. So, you know, I'll start the conversation first with saying that you can make the DPP do what you want it to do for you. It is a challenging intervention for those who are looking for results right away, but it does not have to take forever. I started out a recognized program in 2020, April, May, first cohort in June. By October, we were already Medicaid approved the same year. Medicare came a couple of years later, but with Medicaid, we ended up with contracted with 6 individual health insurance companies. Short period of time, did not take a long time. What I will say, DPP could be what you use first to get your credibility. It is something about health coaching. We already know how if you just look at the surface of it and you have this idea that you're going to instantly connect with doctors' offices, as you mentioned, you're going to instantly build relationships in healthcare, and they're going to send you these patient referrals, or you're going to work alongside them, that might not happen overnight. So from a business perspective, the DPP, Diabetes Prevention Program, is giving you your credibility as a health coach. It's giving you the ability to create outcomes. And I will tell you, the biggest piece is, if you're a health coach listening, what's on paper and show me your data. How many clients have walked through your created programs, and how have you measured their success? If you can put that in, if you can forgive me, I didn't do Starbucks. Qualify results. That means the DPP can also be your gateway to client data, because we're talking about evidence-based health coaching. We're talking about you saying, I know I can help you because it's all lifestyle medicine, but it is a compliance-driven method that you can use to help keep the quality of your programming. You have data reporting that's going to make it seamless. Yes, I was looking for that, Leslie. Qualitative and quantitative. I should know that through contracts. It also opens up other opportunities. And I know, Dr. Angela, you're very familiar with contracts. We've gotten government contracts. We've gotten grants. And I'm not a 501c3 and will not be. Am I a founder of a 501c3 entity? Absolutely. But I don't use it for the purpose of grants, because there are grant opportunities for-profit enterprises who are building impact. So the DPP can be your credibility tool. It can help you gain access to healthcare with credibility. You want to connect with some doctors' offices, show them you're CDC recognized. And let's be clear about communities who need this the most. That's going to put you in a closer opportunities to connect specifically with these health insurers, and not just Medicare and Medicaid. More and more commercial payers are jumping on board for diabetes prevention.
I love it. I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Okay, so gosh, that was so much. Okay, let me
backtrack.
Because I still get so many questions about health insurance, and especially for health coaching services. And I still get questions, especially from individuals kind of in and around NBC-HWC. How do we standardize, billing for health coaching? And so I try to be clear and say that that's not necessarily something that's going to happen. The rates are going to vary. They're going to vary by reimbursement, by state. There's no flat fee. If you're looking for a flat fee for service like life coaching, when you're in the medical space, there's no flat fee for a nurse performing a duty. Should get paid different at different hospitals in different states. So we've got to kind of wrap our heads around. That's why I used to say, do I want to say this live? Oh my God, do I want to say this live?
You do.
I do not like the fact that we use the word coach for what we do. I don't, because people lump it in like life coaching or leadership coaching, and that word, it totally, I feel like it's totally like what we do is adopted as an allied health profession. There's nothing about it that lumps us into like life coaching. I literally just had this conversation. Someone was like, oh, I'm a life coach, and this would just be cool to add it real quick. I'm like, oh my God, no, like this is not the same.
Absolutely not.
I already have that, and it's pretty much the same. I'm like, I just want to pull my weave out. I can't say, but
Let me tell you, trust the process. That's what we're up against. We are up against the awareness that still has to take place for the national board distinction. There is still a strong need for awareness. Healthcare is catching on. We're seeing programs like the DPP incorporate more behavior change. Even the term health coaching, we know it's designated health coaching, but it's still up to us as board certified coaches to bring the true awareness, because we are needed. In healthcare, there's a rise for CHWs, community health workers. Guess what? I did a really awesome job on a survey about why my lifestyle coaches are not CHWs, but how you should strongly consider working with board certified health coaches, because
yes, ma'am.
we're not lay workers as defined as lay workers, number one, and the ability to evoke behavior change in these preventative health interventions is by far an incredible skill to have, especially a team of people who are trained in it. So my coaches are not CHWs. It's not to knock them. I said they can come to us with a CHW certification, but that is not the prerequisite to work
Yeah,
within our PPP. It's not.
absolutely. I've been able to be part of a consulting, like a national consulting team for the creation of apprenticeship community health representatives. And I distinctly remember it's them said, inside of their apprenticeship program, and I know this because I've put together a program. We have one because I need that industry. So they had a whole section in that apprenticeship for health coaching. And so essentially, for just 600 hours inside of a 2-year apprenticeship, they can then be an equal to you or to a board certified health coach distinction. And one of the things I was probably like the 10th consultant that they had gone through. And this is a large national program. And I said, well, out of the people you've gone through, has no one told you that this section is an entire other medical profession that's not yours? Right. So that's like saying giving them IV training and then calling them an RN. It doesn't work that way. Right.
Exactly.
So I was able to help them pull that out. I said, now you can give this as an elective if you want, but you shouldn't say that they're now a health coach or a wellness coach because they went through a CHW training that had this elective in it, some hours of coaching. Right. And so they were like, really? I said, yes, really. Like, you reached out to me because I had an apprenticeship program that I created, a national one. And I happen to run a health coach training institution. So I know that's a separate profession. So you may not know that because that's just not your focus, but it really is another profession. And so this is key to what you're saying. Like, there has to be enough of us that step forward and say, this is our profession. Like, we're here. We know what it takes to do the work, and we're ready to do the work. But again, it takes stepping outside of your own community, what's familiar to you. And that can be scary for a lot of people, but it takes that if we want to see the impact in our communities as well as within our profession, right? And so, I love that we're having this conversation, because this is kind of where a lot of coaches who graduate get stuck and then describe their experience as, I don't know that that's a viable career, right? Like, I spoke to someone the other day who said, I thought about becoming a health coach, but I think I'll just go into marketing instead. And
Wow.
I was like, okay, I can't do anything about that, but because I don't believe in twisting arms. Like that's like saying, oh, everybody should go be a doctor. It's just it doesn't make logical sense. Let them choose for their own reasons, right? And I said, okay, well, if that's where you feel like you belong, you can make the most impact. And she's like, yeah, I really need the health coaching, and I know it would help my family, but I think I'll have an easier road to success to like digital marketing. I said, you may very well. I wouldn't know that. So you'd have to take that journey and see if it pans out for you. But you're not going to get any extra health information taking a marketing path. So if you were going to try to get knowledge to help your family, that's something that you're choosing to forego because you're taking that other path instead. Totally understand, but just know what it is you're getting into. But that's the thing. It's people come to this and there's still a lot of confusion about what do I do with it and where do I go with it, not knowing that there are people seeing great success. And those are those people like you who've taken that leap of faith, who said, well, how else can I provide, create impact? What else can I do? Who else do I need to meet besides the people that I graduated with, or besides staying in the groups of the school that I graduated from? And that's kind of just where they hang out. They don't venture out, and those groups don't grow. Like somebody's gotta be the one that flies from the nest and decides to do something different, And so I want to kind of talk about, and I know you can't go into a lot of detail, but I know that you have programs that will support people in this, which is why I want to kind of take the conversation this way. I want to talk a little bit about what are some of the tangible steps to getting a DPP and becoming, getting that backing to say, well, I'm a board certified health coach, but I'm also supporting or willing to support in this way so that I can accept insurance and other things that will help me.
Yeah, that's I can break that up into a few steps. First is, evaluating where there's a need for DPP, which is everywhere. 1 out of 3 adults have prediabetes. 1 out of 2 adults 65 and older have prediabetes. So you can find them. You can find the community that needs it. They exist. Second is capacity. So what you have to love about the DPP, because it is a federal program, there's a whole bunch of information out there. A whole lot. There isn't nothing that's not revealed. The caveat to that, like a lot of things we have to look up and research ourselves, is asking yourself, where can you find assistance and support if you decide to move forward? And that is really what you alluded to, Dr. Angela. I'm here to help. But the initial steps, literally, family, you're going to the CDC site. They're going to break it all down for you. And you need to grab your cup of you need to grab your latte or your green tea, chill out one Saturday afternoon, kick your feet up and start reading that stuff. The first step is to get acquainted with it. And I'll be honest with you, I have worked with quite a few DPP providers and people who say they want to do it, but don't read the work. It's right there. You first start out gathering the facts. And I have to say this, we have some health coaches that are lifestyle coaches. They're the CDC, DPP trained coaches asking the simplest questions. And I'm just going to be real. Mm-hmm. If you are a lifestyle coach, you are a certified lifestyle coach, and you know very little about the DPP in terms of its beyond the coach's guide, how to facilitate, you've been done a disservice. You've been done a disservice. There's no way you can become a lifestyle coach and you start as a board certified health coach and have not done your homework to see how you could make that transition to lifestyle coaching viable for your health practice. So you start out first, the CDC site. It's going to ask you a couple of questions, some capacity questions. And if you recognize that you have the capacity to move forward in that direction, then the next step is looking at what it's going to take to apply for recognition and dig a little deeper into the opportunities within your state. and see what supports are out there.
I love that. I love it. So I hope you guys got the steps to that. And I know people don't read. I know that for a fact. They don't. They just
Oh, the
don't.
DPP Bible. You better pull out that SOP and get familiar with that. If you want to be successful, you'll take some time to read it.
Take some time and go through it. Okay. And then I'd like to talk a little bit about how, after that part happens, are they going to contact the CDC? Is there a workshop they need to attend? Because I know that, like, even when people read things, they'll have multiple questions. And some people need their hand held as well. They're like, okay, I read it, but I can tell you now I don't get it. And I know anyone who's ever like read like an RFP or even a grant, a solicitation, a NOFO, they're like, I read it, but what are they asking for? Right. So we get with other people and say, now you read it and you tell me what you think they're asking for. Did I get that right? You know, what happens when I have done that or they have done that and they're like, okay, yes, this sounds like something I think might might align with what I want to do and how I want to coach and how I want to help, but I don't understand it all. And so then where do they turn?
You have to honestly find a network with the resources, because this program is laid out. So between the CDC and maybe even some of your, state partners, they feel like everything is online. And it really is not until you have actually become a recognized organization that you can seek some additional support. And that is the truth. Yeah. You are not invited to the CDC's monthly calls if you are not a recognized organization. And so that is one of the struggles with DPP providers who can see that the CDC doesn't make it hard to get recognition, and that should be a clue. It's whether or not you want to stay the course and you want to build a dynamic program. In order to do that, you're going to have to tap into some resources that rarely ever exist. And on a state level, once you're recognized, sometimes there are some really good contacts to help. But it's still up to you to build the business side of DPP. And those connections don't exist yet. They don't. So a coach is left in those early stages. You need support more than ever, because it's about building that program and being realistic about how you'll launch. So I just want to emphasize, a lot of that additional support doesn't come until you have actually become recognized. So it makes sense to try to find those supports that'll help you make those decisions and be in a place where you can rapidly get ready to prepare to launch, so that you can then tap into those other resources that are available only to recognized programs.
Yeah. And I'll say most federal agencies are that way. Like, until you actually are recognized or you have won a contract or you've been awarded a grant, it was only then that you're going to get like office hours and invites to a lot of different intel and insights on, because then they want you to do it right. The goal is to get it done right. Now that you're in, they want to keep you there and they want you to do it right. And so the support comes as a result of that. But helping you get to that point, no, there's not. You're going to do a lot of reading, like she said. So make it your best friend. One of the things that I started doing was setting aside one day a week to only do reading and look for contracts and look at data in the community. Access to, like, I can look up where the most billing for diabetes happens in the US. Where's the majority of that happening, right? And so I can either go after those states, or I can say, well, there's not a lot happening in that state, so maybe I'll go create a program there. Or maybe I'll look at, where there's less competition and things like that. So that you can do this to make it a lot more easier for yourself. And it would definitely set you apart as a health coach and kind of level the playing field for you in terms of medical billing, right? And so Leslie put a question here. Can you talk about any additional costs?
In terms of operating a DPP or starting it up? I think that's a good question.
Yeah. Leslie, let us know what you mean by that.
Yeah. If you
but I would think starting
yeah. That I think I could preface it to say that when you do your capacity assessment, just looking at how and it does not require a lot in terms of human capital, I'll say. Because initially it's about putting together that small team. That small team could be anybody that already live in your house. I'll just be clear about that. For somebody that's mission aligned in a house, share that same last name, you can use them. So, but when you think about cost, and that is a good question, that initially, believe it or not, Leslie, it's not really a big expense to start. So I think that's a really cool blog post too. Like, could you really start a DPP less than $5,000? You more than likely could, right? We're talking about initially to become recognized. Guess what else, Leslie? You don't have to be a lifestyle coach at the time that you submit for your recognition. And I was not. I didn't become a lifestyle coach until after we completed everything. So that is not a prerequisite. What I say is helpful so that hopefully you're aligned with a lifestyle coaching entity that teaches you a little more than how to go through a module. That could be helpful. But the training can vary based on the entities. There are only a handful of entities that are qualified to certify lifestyle coaches. So that is an expense that could be anywhere from $600 to $1,000. You do need a platform. So most of us as coaches already have a platform that we are managing our client flow. So that's important. The other piece to that is you need to be legit, right? You need an email address that is not a Gmail address, like you're communicating with a government agency. So how, everything doesn't have to be all together, but I honestly believe that at least that those initial steps will not cost you more than $2,000. It's the work a little bit later. So there are definitely stages to it, but initially it does not cost a lot to launch. It's really about the maintenance along the way. Yeah.
Awesome. And for those individuals don't want to kind of go through all of that, do you offer consultations? Do you offer support for those individuals who say, I already know this is beyond, that startup part is, I just want to get to clients. I know I can deliver a program, but getting things started has not been, I know I'm gonna leave something out. Let me just say that. I'm gonna skip something. I'm gonna miss something and may not know that I'm missing something. So do you offer any form of support in terms of start to finish and getting this kind of up and running for other people since you had success with it already?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the Scale Accelerator. We have one coming up. We just finished the pilot program of it, which is awesome for us. It's just so exciting to see the coaches that jumped on board to be able to walk through it. And we've tightened it up a bit specifically for coaches who are in a place where, Nik, this is something I want to do, but let me tell you, I need guidance from the start. So it's someone who's identified the fact that they believe the DPP could be a good add to their practice and they're ready to do the work. Because that's that other piece, right? You're not going to leave this program saying, I didn't do anything. It didn't work for me. It is a working program. So the Scale program does just that. It actually walks a coach through recognition and not just the application. So let me be clear. It's deeper than the application, people. You want to gain recognition tiers. The CDC has recognition tiers. And so you want to start somewhere and already build in the process to make your first year to year and a half successful so you can scale to additional. So that program is a, centralized, focused on helping that coach go from start to launch with a plan to help them sustain the program.
I love it. I love it. Do you have a link to that? Can you put that in the comment area for everyone that's watching? And then I know that it'll be comments for the live stream as well. And so for those of you who are either, graduates already, you're already board certified, you know that you're the cream of the crop. That's what people are looking. That's what you have to, graduating and becoming board certified is just the beginning. There are some other things that you got to do to add to that to make sure that you are identifiable from other brands, from other people, from other businesses as one that is sustainable in health coaching. And so becoming a DPP program or adding this to what you do can definitely do that, can do that for you. And so, I'm gonna see if I can add this. If you have any questions for Nik, please add them here in the comments before we jump off. This has been amazing. I'm trying to see if I have any other questions. This has been, absolutely amazing. So let me see here. Let me see. Okay. I think that's all the questions that I have. For those individuals who are kind of on the fence about this, because I hadn't thought about posting this in the National Board Certification group, I think I'm going to share it there because I think there's tremendous value that those board certified coaches can glean from this presentation. A lot of them, may not see everything in that group, and I think this is one of the things they definitely should be seeing if they want to grow and do more. So, what is one final thing you would say to coaches who are like, I've been trying to grow, but it's been a challenge, and they're thinking about doing something like this?
Oh, big tip, I always say evaluate, like pause for a moment. Sometimes we get scattered, we get anxious. We can even get a little discouraged looking at other people that seem like everything they have going on is just all in place. But those clarity moments to just evaluate where you are, not jumping into a DPP because, I can bill insurance. But actually evaluating if you're ready to put in some work. I will tell you, depending on where you live, and if you have the capacity, there are opportunities for you to start billing within the first 3 months of your program. It's state specific, as Dr. Angela mentioned, different things for different states. But first, evaluate if it's something you actually want to do, because it is a commitment. If you want to jump in, get your feet wet in it, you're talking about committing at least a year and a half. And then ask yourself, if you've assessed that, like, hey, it's a go, I want to help more people. Remember, the DPP can be customized and branded to fit your current practice. Just because Medicare might approve you right away doesn't mean you have to work with those lovelies who are 65 and older, right? Literally, you're talking about taking your current coaching strategy and branding it to meet the niche that you already have. It's just what you're creating is another opportunity for payment. So that is how you look at it. So you don't have to look at it as this, I'm going to take over the underserved, under-resourced, marginalized communities. Yes, they need it. And guess what? They don't want you to create something that looks different just for them. They don't want to feel like,
Mhm.
okay, well, I'm going to put this in place so I can help more Black people. No, they
Mhm.
want their dignity, their honor, and their respect. So if you are a coach and you're about your business and you're about outcomes and you're simply going to use DPP to help you with the credibility and meeting the need that is there, just look at it as another optional payment source for your clients. And if that is you and you're willing to put in the work, I'm telling you, you don't have to sit on a fence trying to wait for other opportunities to build. You don't have to sit on a fence trying to figure out how can I get more clients on a consistent basis. Just don't sleep on this opportunity, because Dr. Angela and I know that what's hot and piping right about now eventually will cool off. So if you're
Yes.
on a fence too long, you may miss the boat and not qualify to jump in at the level that you are at currently. No pressure,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying
Yeah.
there's an opportunity
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah. And I could, like, what is the saying? Yesterday's price isn't today's price, right? And so, and so one of the things that I think people have to keep that in mind, especially because billing changes, codes change, what's accepted changes, what's required changes. As more data comes in, it's going to change. And so you have to be one of those people who already got the relationships. You got to be somebody who's already jumped out there and tried and be a part of something like this. You don't want another boat to pass you by. I think most people have felt that feeling of, oh, the next bus won't be here for another hour and a half. It's like, oh my God, like I don't have that kind of time. You know, most people have felt that feeling before. Oh, you missed this flight. The next one's not till tomorrow. Everyone knows what that feels like. Like, God, like, oh my gosh, how did I miss that? And the last thing you want to do is miss the opportunity to affect change among humanity. That's that's way worse than missing a flight or a bus, or you know those opportunities don't always come around. And this is the equivalent of more like a ground floor entry to something that's getting up to where it needs to go. And those individuals who jump in early are the ones who are afforded the opportunity to help shape it for other people that are coming in. And so you want to make sure that you're one of those people. All right. So it's so great sharing time and space with you, Miss Nick. I know you're busy. you got you
This is
got an afternoon ahead of you. And so any final words before we hop off?
No, just, thank you for this opportunity. I'll tell you, you are absolutely amazing. I hope everyone listening who's not familiar with the Legacy Holistic Health coaching program to definitely look it up. And just the fact that you are bringing additional supports to help to us board certified coaches as a whole is, it's just great. And I'm glad to be able to have taken up some of this time in this space. And I hope that all the gems dropped will definitely motivate and empower our listeners to, rethink ways that they can scale their practice by helping others. So thank you.
Awesome, awesome. You're welcome anytime. All right, you guys, have an amazing week ahead, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.